the show for today. We're talking to attorney Michael McDonald, Dr. Michael McDonald at Tennessee State University in the Political Science Department. And the topic is Homeland Security and the Patriot Act. And of course, Dr. McDonald, before we had our break, we promised that we'd give you an opportunity to elaborate upon this whole idea of Homeland Security as a result of the attack on America.
Well, and when we talk about the concept or the term Homeland Security, what we're really referencing and identifying would be the resources and the tools that are used to basically protect the United States in terms of domestic sort of independence, domestic sort of intelligence, domestic safety and security. The Office of Homeland Security was actually elevated to a cabinet level position prior to the year 2000. There was something similar to Homeland Security, but it wasn't at the cabinet level within the presidential cabinet. It's considered to be so important that it was elevated and has all the resources as any other secretary within the presidential cabinet. Homeland Security focuses on, for example, transportation, interstate commerce, and intercepting communications within the United States that could in fact involve terrorist activities, terrorist cells within the United States itself. In contrast, when we talk about the Patriot Act and terrorism in general, it's a more global approach. We're looking at it from a more international approach and what procedures and steps and laws exist to basically to try to infiltrate and prevent terrorist activities from being visited upon the United States. So the first component is probably one that's more treatment, and the second one is more preventive.
And so in a real sense, you can identify how these elements break down, and of course Homeland Security is simply trying to protect the homeland, to secure the homeland. You know, and of course this is not to get off of the subject, but I think this gives us an excellent opportunity to introduce an element in reference to this Homeland Security, and that is the recent tape that was introduced in reference to Mr. bin Laden in some of the states. What are some of your thoughts in terms of the Patriot Act and the Homeland Security and how that might have some impact upon those two activities?
Well, one of the things that's unique about the Act is that it allows for wiretapping and basically without having to go and seek order from the court, to be able to wiretap, to intercept emails, to intercept information that one might solicit from public libraries, to solicit bank accounts, bank transactions, to actually wiretap and put surveillance on a person's internet account in much the same way you would wiretap their telephones. So our ability to actually have obtained this tape on bin Laden, depending upon its you know, its authenticity, if it is in fact he, if it is in fact his representations, would be something that was critical, and one might even go as far as saying that in the absence of the act, we may not have gotten access to it. I really don't know, you know, all the details behind how it was obtained, but I think it's safe to say that part of our counterintelligence is critical to obtaining and getting information from these terrorist cells. You can't expect this information to just show up on Main Street. It just doesn't. It requires a lot of covert operations on the part of our intelligence community, the CIA, the Department of Defense, the Department of State and Homeland Security, the FBI, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the Coast Guard, Border Patrol. All of these agencies, the INS, Immigration Naturalization Service, all these agencies are working now in unison under Homeland Security to try to obtain this type of information, which, I mean, prior to 9/11, you had them pretty much working separate missions, working separate goals, and the bureaucracy itself prevented this type of coordination. But one of the key provisions of Homeland Security has been having a key point, one individual, one agency that has the responsibility of coordinating Homeland Security.
Where all the information can flow into, and that individual can will be over a larger segments of the agency.
Yes.
Is that what we're saying?
Yes, that's what we're saying. And we're saying that prior to 9/11, it was a very decentralized process, and it was because of the decentralization that many people believe 9/11 took place. One of the things that's unique was when we talk about 9/11, we have to remind people about the Y2K and how all this focus was on that particular issue. And there's some who say that we were so focused on Y2K that we kind of lost track of everything else that we should have been focusing on too. But Y2K took up a lot of resources, had the coordination issues that were being taken care of there. And so we learned a lesson from Y2K in that we needed to be able to coordinate services at the federal level to make sure things were working. So we actually took a page from that to really create what we now know as Homeland Security.
And so overall, the whole cabinet level situation for that particular department is a very, very positive thing in terms of Homeland Security, and that's what it's all about. Is that what you
Yes, I mean, I would argue that from a political science perspective, and just as a citizen, that is critical for the president to be able to have the ear of the director of Homeland Security. The ideal being that the president's the commander-in-chief, the president oversees all the armies and navies, and if there's a need to mobilize the military for some purpose under Homeland Security, which the law act does permit, then the Homeland Security director needs to be able to get his or her ear without any kind of interference.
Well, you know, in terms of looking at this, if you talk in terms of those individuals who are those groups that are opponents to the Patriot Act, because I think that there's been sort of quite a bit of controversy as we make preparations for this second commercial break, that if you look at these groups, when we come back, let's talk about those individuals who oppose the so-called Patriot Act and some of the implications of their opposition, or why they oppose this act, and what you foresee as the possibilities of being able to work something out in reference to these groups. Because I think that, as we've indicated, that if that tape that we received from Mr. bin Laden is authentic, then we can only expect that there will be an increased kind of activity in this country, and there has to be something to deal with it. Now, whether it's the Patriot Act, or whether it's Homeland Security that will be in charge, or whether the opponents might have something different to introduce. And so when we come back, let's have you to deal with that. And we'll be back with our audience following this second commercial break. The topic is